this is Pitch Girl Black here, and welcome back to another instalment of the Skulls General Reviews month event, in which today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different, and that is a CD review of the Big Finish audio drama, The Light at the End. So we have BBC, Doctor Who, Classic Doctor's Brand New Adventures, The Light at the End by Nick Briggs, starring Tom Baker, Peter Davison, Colin Baker, Sylvester McCoy and Paul McGann. With a sort of blend of all of the Doctor's intros. We have a TARDIS set against that. 50 years TARDIS logo, BBC Big Finish. Classic full cast audio drama, and then the cover art itself, centered around this sort of triangulating hexagon, I think that is, of all sorts of lovely light rays coming out in sort of a very faint hexagonal pattern in the background. We have the Decayed Master, or the Crusty Master as some people like to call him, the 4th Doctor, the 5th Doctor, 6th Doctor, 7th Doctor and 8th Doctor. And then for the spine, and then on the side here we have the audio adventures of Doctor Who. And then for the spine we have the TARDIS, Doctor Who, The Light at the End, Big Finish logo set against black. And then we've got the back of the CD, The Light at the End, written and directed by Nick Briggs. The actual blow itself, the cast, which I won't bother reading out because there is a lot of people in this audio drama, and the running time is 120 minutes approximately, and you've just got various copyright stuff, and then the barcode on this audio release down here. And now for the blurb. November 23rd, 1963 proves to be a significant day in the lives of all 8 Doctors. It's the day that Bob Dovey's life is ripped apart. It's also a day that sets in motion a catastrophic chain of events which forces the first 8 incarnations of the Doctor to fight for the very existence as a mysterious, insidious chaos unfolds within the TARDIS. The barriers of time begin to break apart, or the barriers of time break apart. From suburban England through war-torn alien landscapes and into a deadly artificial dimension, all these Doctors and their companions must struggle against the power of an unfathomable alien technology. From the very beginning it is clear that the Master is somehow involved. By the end, for the Doctors, there may only be darkness. And then for the units we've got a booklet with some concept art, I guess you would call it. This art there, which is not as vibrant or bright as the actual sort of cover art itself and the booklet artwork. As you can see, the sort of blues and purpley blues have been sort of toned down a bit for the disc art. So there's disc 1, and if I was to get this open, we have disc 2 there, and other releases you may enjoy. And then for the booklet, if I was just to get this out, we have the cover art again, producer's notes, David Richardson, by David Richardson, behind the scenes with a picture of the cast. Then there we've got writer's note by Nicholas Briggs, advertisement for Doctor Who magazine from the time, bit of the cover artwork, and a photo of Colin Baker and Nicola Bryant. Advertisement for The Light at the End limited edition, get more from Big Finish, and credits. And there for the back we have that sort of concept art, or sort of full version of the cover art again. And with this being just a straight up audio review, I am not going to be going into the general consensus or anything like that. Well, I think I will for a little bit, for my sort of personal thoughts and opinions on this audio. Now, out of the 50th anniversary, there was quite a bit of merchandise that came out to celebrate the 50th anniversary. We ended up getting the 50th anniversary reprints, which led me to read some of the greatest Doctor Who books I have read. 10 Little Aliens, Last at the Gathering and Dreams of Empire are the only 3 that I have actually read out of the 50th anniversary collection. But all 3 of those books are absolutely fantastic, so I will definitely say that they're the second best. The reprint range, the 50th anniversary reprint, is the second best thing that came out of the 50th anniversary as a whole. Best for me personally was the Adventure in Time and Space, I think it's called, which is the sort of autobiographical sort of drama documentary about 60s era Doctor Who and how it was produced from sort of William Hartnell's sort of era of the show to like the very start of Patrick Troughton's era as the Doctor. For me personally, that was the best sort of thing about the 50th anniversary. A lot of people, as in terms of liking the 50th anniversary and whatnot, generally don't really like Day of the Doctor. Day of the Doctor is rather mixed, but with quite a few Doctor Who fans it is particularly hated, and I don't particularly like that episode either. It's horrible in my opinion. Well, some parts of it are good, but most of it is just pretty crap and completely and utterly fails to like fully celebrate the 50th anniversary. It just feels like a 14th episode of series 7 for me personally. It doesn't feel like 50th anniversary in any shape or form. It's just this crap, weird, I don't know, wet dream Stephen Moffat had and decided to, I don't know, make his wet dream come alive for the 50th anniversary episode, I guess. But it's not a complete and utter failure in my opinion, the 50th anniversary episode, Day of the Doctor. As I find the Time War sequences to be absolutely fantastic, and well, other than that, I don't think there was much other good stuff in Day of the Doctor really. God, I hate that sonic screwdriver scene. But that gets about a 4 out of 10 for me. But the worst thing by far from the 50th anniversary in my opinion was this fucking piece of shit right here, the light at the end. Now, I just want to clear up something quickly. I don't hate Big Finish. It's sort of been known that I, as you'd see by the background, I am a massive Doctor Who book fan, and I've been known to actively say I hate Big Finish on my channel and in hangouts and stuff. But that's not necessarily true. I actually personally do kind of like Big Finish, and that is just sort of a running gag with me and Big Finish as a whole really. It's just sort of a joke really, and there has been many Big Finish audios that I have listened to that I actually personally really like. It's just that the format of Big Finish's stories, the way they do, the way those stories are sort of made, or the sort of format of Big Finishes in my opinion is what I really cannot get into with Big Finish. There's been loads of Big Finish audios that I've enjoyed, such as those 4 monthly ranges I just showed you, and every single Lost Story release I have heard so far. First Doctor box set, Second Doctor box set, Masters of Luxor, Rose Mariners, Dark Planet, and the Mega. The only thing out of the Lost Stories that I would say I don't particularly like is the single part audio Fragile Yellow Arc of Fragrance out of the First Doctor box set. So, as you probably would have gathered from that, I do actually personally quite like Big Finish. It's just the actual format that Big Finish audios are that I can't get into. For some reason I just find it like ridiculously hard to actually get into Big Finish audios, because I don't particularly like the format of a story being told throughout audio, or the sort of a story being made in audio. For the people who may be thinking, oh, what do you think of, oh, I don't know, these 60s era soundtracks for instance, don't you like those? I actually do like these, simply because very easy for me to get into. Not because of the actual audio format, but I just find them easy to get into because they're realistically a television story being translated into audio. It's not a story that is being built on the foundations of audio. Those stories were never intentionally made for audio, they're intentionally made for television, and I think for that reason alone I can get into the Lost TV soundtracks a lot more than I can with Big Finish audio dramas. Now, as you would have probably guessed from me, preferring Big Finish, well, preferring the books over to Big Finish. I don't, well, as I said already, but I don't necessarily hate Big Finish. I just simply prefer the books. But as you would have probably expected, there was a couple Big Finish audios that I personally hate. Zagreus is just a weird mess in my opinion. You gotta be on drugs to enjoy that, in my opinion. And then Embrace the Darkness, the 31st monthly range release, is quite possibly the dullest and most boring Doctor Who story I have ever watched, or ever experienced rather. But the thing is with those audio dramas, they had actual substance and they actually had a plot. For me, Light at the End doesn't necessarily have that, and this without question is getting the lowest score I have ever given, or this is the first time in any Doctor Who review that I actually give something this score. It's not down to like me hating Big Finish or anything like that. As I said, I do like Big Finish, and that's why I wanted to point it out so early on in this review. It's just that the Light at the End, in my opinion, is simply just the worst. Like, I think I would even technically consider this to be worse than Hellbent. Like, okay, I hate Hellbent. On original transmission, I loved Hellbent for some reason. I thought it was a great finale, and I sort of liked it on original transmission. I thought it was a good series finale for season 9 at the time. But after time and sort of mulling it over in my head, I personally hate Hellbent now. And a lot of people may actually consider Hellbent to be worse than this audio drama. Personally, I consider The Light at the End to be worse than Hellbent, in my opinion. Simply because of this. Hellbent has a clear goal. The clear goal was completely and utterly shit, but the writing clearly had a purpose. With Stephen Moffat writing Hellbent, it clearly had a purpose. You could see where the episode was going, and the episode, in my opinion, did have a plot. It's completely and utterly awful, but at least it had somewhat of a plot and a bit of a direction, and you could clearly see what Stephen Moffat was going for. So in that regard, Hellbent isn't a complete and utter failure like this is, in my opinion, because you actually have writing, a clear goal, actual sort of an actual plot, whereas with this, it doesn't. It's sort of a mixture of Day of the Doctor and Hellbent, in the sense that Day of the Doctor is the sort of wet dream personified sort of story, and Hellbent in terms of actual quality. But even worse than both of those combined somehow. Yeah, Light at the End is sort of like Nicholas Briggs, I guess would call it again, a wet dream sort of personified for audio. In my opinion, it just feels like a collection of scenes, and that's all it is really. It just felt like Nicholas Briggs really wanted to make an Doctor Who audio drama for the 50th anniversary with all 8 Doctors in it, but didn't give a single flying fuck about trying to write a cohesive story. In my opinion, what a Doctor Who story relies on the most with anything, books, audio, TV, what a Doctor Who story relies on the most is writing, in my opinion, because for me personally, if the writing's good, the chances are that your story is going to be good to an extent. If the writing is shit, it's most likely that your story is going to be shit to an extent. This sort of falls underneath that latter category, but falls into that latter category so fittingly that it pretty much creates its own subgenre underneath that category. That's how writing this. That is how bad the writing in this is. The writing in this is so bad to the point where I wouldn't even call it writing. It's got no plot, no substance and just nothing to it basically. And I'm trying to give you guys a sort of a proper review of the light at the end, which I'm obviously trying to do right now, but I can't really, because the writing is just non-existent. It's just got no substance, nothing to really talk about, and it's just outright crap. It's got like no substance, and the writing is just practically non-existent in my opinion. It's just got absolutely nothing to it. Sure, the acting and the sound design are good, but honestly I feel like I can't even give this audio credit for the sound design and the actual acting and whatnot, because from Big Finish, practically all of the time their sound design and acting is brilliant in their audio. So I personally feel that there is almost practically no point in even giving part of a score to Light at the End, for simply because the sound design and the acting was good, pretty much because it's so good, because the sound design and acting in all Big Finish audios are so good to the point now, in pretty much all of them, to the point where, well, they are practically, those two qualities of Big Finish audio are practically always absolutely fantastic in my opinion. So in my opinion, realistically giving this audio any marks just for those two alone is just stupid in my opinion, because both of those are so good to the point in almost every Big Finish audio where it's simply just cliche at this point. And honestly, that's all I can really say on the Light at the End, to be honest. I seriously don't know what else to say about this, simply because the writing is just horrible. It just absolutely is just completely and utterly nothing. The writing is non-existent, there is no substance, just nothing. It's absolutely horrible in my opinion. This is by far and beyond quite possibly the worst writing and the worst Doctor Who story I've ever experienced. Groston's Curse was awful, but I would at least say that had actual writing. This doesn't. And that's all I can say really. This is quite possibly the worst Doctor Who story I have ever experienced, and is a complete and utter failure, and isn't really even a Doctor Who story at all really. It's just, it feels like a storyboard made into an audio without being fleshed out or anything like that at all, and it's a complete and utter failure in terms of tribute Doctor Who stories. This is by far and beyond the worst tribute sort of Doctor Who story ever. It's supposed to be paying homage and whatnot, with Big Finish actively acknowledging that this is their sort of audio version of a 50th anniversary story. But it's a complete and utter failure because, like I said, the writing isn't there, and it doesn't even pay tribute to Doctor Who, classic Doctor Who, as it was meant to be doing. Sort of in my opinion, Day of the Doctor was sort of, I guess in a way, trying to pay tribute to modern Doctor Who, and this was sort of, and it was sort of left to Big Finish to sort of pay tribute to classic Doctor Who, but it doesn't even succeed as a tribute story in my opinion. It's just absolutely awful and is a complete and utter failure for any sort of tribute Doctor Who stories. This is the worst Big Finish audio I've ever heard, the worst tribute story I have ever experienced, and is by far and beyond the worst thing to come out of the 50th anniversary. And I would even go as far as to say that this is quite possibly the worst Doctor Who story I have ever experienced. I am kind of shocked to be even giving you guys a review that gives a story this low of a rating, but The Light at the End truly deserves a big fat 0 out of 10, because there is nothing to it, and like I said, the acting and sound design is good, but what's the point of marking it for that when when the acting and sound design is always good in Big Finish audios? What is the point? And I can't really give it any other marks for any other things because it's just not there. The writing is and like I said, the thing that holds all Doctor Who stories together is the writing, and there is no writing at all in this Doctor Who story. It's just a collection of scenes, and it just feels like a first draft. This is the worst Doctor Who story I think I have ever experienced, and this audio drama, in my opinion, gets a complete and utter solid 0 out of 10. So like, favorite, comment, subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed this instalment of the Skulls General Reviews month event. So like, favorite, comment, subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Pitch Gold Black, dematerializing.